I guess you can look at it that way. Then we had Kane and the Big Show.
Kane and the Big Show.
Let me just tell you what happened. Then I'll tell you the truth. I never thought I'd do this on the air, but I've got a little hangnail here that is bothering me. And now it's gone.
Grooming with Bryan Alvarez.
Kane and the Big Show came out, and they had a technical match. They exchanged holds. They exchanged hammerlocks, drop toe holds. Show did what I presume was supposed to be a float over. It was basically a tumble across. And I am telling the gods honest. They did chain wrestling.
I can vouch for this.
They had a scientific wrestling match.
They did go-behinds. There were front face locks. The Big Show at one point performed a fireman's carry, which was more like a fire truck carry. And this went on for a while.
They
did, at one point, they did a little lucha.
This was the worst scientific wrestling I've ever seen in my whole life, which made it great.
Yes.
That's the only way I can describe it. If I would have gone to a wrestling training school and found two dudes with a week of training, they could have done such a better job than these two guys.
I don't know that they could have done any worse.
This was so bad. And it ended up with the May 19th bullshit happening. Kane flipped out and gave Show multiple chair shots. That was the end. And
all I could think was Kurt Angle was probably sitting at home watching this and just screaming.
All I could think was when Kane obliterated Show with chair shots.
Well,
he hit him in the gut, the ass, the shoulder, the elbow, and the ankle. And for those of you unaware, these men have been having some issues. They are not getting along for real. This is not a storyline deal. They're having some personal issues between the two of them. And I strongly suspect this did not help matters.
No, I don't think it would.
I think that the personal issues may actually be a little worse now. I could be going out on a limb, but
it very rarely does that help smooth things over or settle things. Violence solves nothing.
He beat the shit out of the Big Show with this chair.
He really did. The worst was just the elbow. He just whacked him right on the elbow as hard as he could with the chair.
Yeah. It was Monster versus Monster for the title, and we didn't get a finish.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of did. We got a no contest in a Monster versus Monster battle. They both got sucked to the bottom of the sea by the tractor beam from Godzilla. Whatever the fuck the
You're
finish was.
really mixing up your movies.
I know.
You've combined Jaws, Godzilla,
well,
and
no,
Star Wars.
there was a gimmick in the original Godzilla that like sucked all the oxygen out of the ocean. That's how they killed Godzilla.
Yeah, it wasn't a tractor beam.
Well, that's all I came up with. But
you
know what I mean.
It was the oxygen destroyer.
Sure. But what about all the other animals in the sea?
They're dead too, apparently.
Well, that's a shitty fucking plan. They killed every animal in the whole goddamn
you destroyed
Pacific
the
Ocean.
ecosystem, yes.
I don't think Godzilla was that dangerous.
Anyway, last comment on this match. If you ask me, hey, remember that time Aerostar wrestled Drago in Season 2? I will say, oh, you mean that match where Aerostar slipped off the ropes and nearly died? So that's what I'm going to remember.
You know, we make fun of wrestling for storyline holes and that sort of thing, but when you really think about this goddamn Godzilla finish, that's worse than anything in wrestling.
Essentially.
They could spend 5 minutes and come up with a better way to kill Godzilla. Then we're going to eliminate all oxygen from the whole ocean.
Well, maybe just off Tokyo.
Oh, is that it?
So it doesn't just destroy the entire Japanese fishing industry.
Yeah, their entire... Oh, my God. I wonder what Vince McMahon would have come up with. He would have come up with a muscular monster that would have killed Godzilla.
He'd find a bigger monster.
A juiced-up Godzilla that would do the job.
That's a terrifying thought.
I was watching the show. I keep waiting for the first one that I was watching live, and it's not there yet. I'm actually, as I look through the lineups, I don't think that I was regularly watching Saturday night's main event until 1990.
Wow, that's a long way away.
But I was absolutely watching primetime wrestling at this point. Because I remember all the angles. I remember when Ron Bass cut him with the gimmick.
He sliced up Brutus Beefcake's face.
Sliced up Brutus Beefcake with the spur. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And I bought SummerSlam.
Wow, really?
Yep, I bought SummerSlam, and I bought the Royal Rumble. I don't think I bought Survivor Series. But I think from the 1990 Royal Rumble
from that point forward, I believe I've seen every single WWE pay-per-view that they have ever produced, starting in 1990. Now, what I do know, and I wrote a lot about this, and pardon me, 100 things WWE fans should know and do before they die, but I was going to house shows during this period as well. So I was full in on pro wrestling. Me and my buddy Chris Kelly, we were already doing a little bit of low-level YWF style indie action. I think it was the 9th grade, which would actually have been 90. We did a wrestling match for an assembly.
I was in the crowd. Yes, I do remember that. Yes,
that's right. And we hit each other with chairs and a bunch of crazy shit.
You were using kendo sticks.
Yeah, it was
in 1990.
1990, everybody.
Yes.
I was doing shitty pro wrestling. I know it's hard to believe, but so anyway, the reason I remember SummerSlam, as I note in the book, is I had gone to a house show, and back then, I went through as I was writing the book, and I looked at all of the lineups for all of the times because I was trying to figure out, okay, which shows did I go to? And what I was stunned to learn, and that I had forgotten over the last 35 years or whatever, is that they used to come here all the time.
Oh, yeah, every
last
2
30
months.
years. Yeah, it was every 2-3 months. They would alternate. They would come to Tacoma. They would come to Seattle Center Coliseum, Tacoma Dome. They'd go back and forth, and we would go to all these matches, and Chris and I would buy shirts. And I remember this, and I remember SummerSlam, because I saw a house show match with the Ultimate Warrior versus Rick Rude. And Ultimate Warrior and Rick Rude ended up being the SummerSlam main event. Now, at this point in time, even though we were fucking around and doing our own version of pro wrestling, and it was obviously fake and everything, but I wasn't sure yet about WWE, WWF.
Right.
So I was watching this house show match, and I went home. I talked my parents into buying me SummerSlam, and there was a Warrior Rick Rude match on SummerSlam. And they did the same fucking match.
How about that?
Like move for move. And I was like, what the fuck? My mind was like blown. And then there was another one that really tipped me off when I was, I think, 13, 14 years old at the time. Siri?
Not me. No, okay.
Fucking Siri. Another thing that tipped me off was I went to a show, and I believe it was... I forget who it was. It's in the book, but it was Warlord and somebody else. I always seem to remember Coco Beware, but I don't think it was Coco Beware. But anyway, they wrestled each other on the show, and then afterwards, Chris and I went out to watch the wrestlers leave, and Warlord left with the guy that he was wrestling.
Well, that just sounds
in
phony.
this tiny fucking car, by the way. It was like smaller than a Geo Metro, which I had, by the way. It's a tiny little rental car. And then, even by WrestleMania 90, like, I was pretty sure it was all fake, but I was so into Hogan Warrior that, like, every time Warrior kicked out at 2.99, I was like, bro, you got to kick out earlier, buddy, or you're going to get pinned by Hulk Hogan.